Hello and welcome. Today, I'll be introducing the commercial contract types used in construction industry in Malaysian. Lump sum or fixed price contracts are agreements where the employer sets the scope of work, typically through drawings, specifications, and a bill of quantities, BQ, and the contractor agrees to deliver the project for a single, fixed price. This type of contract places the risk of cost overruns on the contractor unless variations are formally instructed by the employer. It is the most commonly used contract type for traditional building projects in the private sector and is also prevalent in public works where the scope is well defined. The predictability of the final price is a major advantage for employers, while contractors are incentivized to control costs. However, contractors may include high contingencies in their pricing to mitigate risks, and disputes may arise if the scope is unclear. In Malaysia, lump sum contracts are widely used under PAM standard forms for private building contracts and under JKR PWD forms where bills of quantities accompany the contract. Measurement or remeasurement contracts involve payment by the employer based on actual quantities executed, calculated at pre-agreed unit rates. This means the final contract price is determined by the quantities measured during construction. These contracts are particularly suitable for projects where final quantities are uncertain, such as roadworks, earthworks, and civil engineering projects. They are commonly used in the public sector in Malaysia, especially under PWD JKR contracts like Form 203 and 203A. The main advantage of this contract type is its fairness in handling variable quantities, which helps reduce disputes over quantity risk. However, it offers less cost certainty for the employer compared to lump sum contracts. In Malaysia, PWD Form 203 to 203A is the standard form used for such contracts, and it includes bills of quantities and measurement-based pricing. Cost plus or time and materials, T&M, contracts are agreements where the employer reimburses the contractor for actual costs incurred, plus a fee that may be a percentage or a fixed amount. T&M contracts typically charge for labor on an hourly basis and for materials used. These contracts are used when the scope of work cannot be clearly defined at the outset, such as in early works, unforeseeable tasks, or professional services. They are also common for specialist subcontracts or variations. The flexibility and speed of initiation are key benefits, allowing work to begin without detailed scope definition. However, the employer bears most of the cost risk, necessitating robust auditing and contract controls to ensure transparency and accountability. In Malaysia, these contracts are often used for specialist packages and are supported by platforms like Procore for contract management. Design and build contracts assign responsibility for both design and construction to the contractor or the contractor's design team. This arrangement is based on the employer's requirements and typically involves a fixed price or a guaranteed maximum price, GMP. It is favored by employers seeking single-point liability and faster project delivery. This contract type simplifies claims related to design and construction defects, as the contractor is solely responsible. However, it reduces the employer's direct control over the design process. In some cases, the employer's design team is novated to the contractor to maintain continuity. In Malaysia, design and build contracts are used in both private and government projects, with a PWD-DB standard form available for public procurement. Resources such as Malaysian construction and contract law provide further insights into this contract type. Engineering, procurement, and construction, EPC, or turnkey contracts require the contractor to deliver a fully complete and functioning facility. These contracts are commonly used for large industrial or infrastructure projects, such as process plants and power stations, where the employer desires a plug-and-play solution. Lump sum EPC contracts shift most technical and commercial risks to the contractor, making them suitable for projects requiring high certainty and performance guarantees. In Malaysia, EPC contracts are often based on FIDIC type forms or bespoke agreements tailored to specific project needs. These contracts are ideal for complex engineering projects involving international contractors. For more information, FIDIC.org and Global Practice Guides offer comprehensive resources. Management contracting and construction management are procurement methods where the employer hires a manager to procure trade packages and oversee the execution of works. Unlike traditional main contractors, the manager does not bear the performance risk of individual trade packages. These methods are used for complex or fast-track projects where the employer seeks greater control over procurement and execution. The advantages include flexibility and speed, but they require more management effort and introduce a different risk profile due to the split relationships between employer and contractors. In Malaysia, these approaches are supported by platforms like Procore, which facilitate package management and coordination. Joint venture, JV, public-private partnership, PPP, and concession contracts involve multi-party arrangements for financing and delivering large infrastructure projects. These contracts allocate risk and reward through concession or JV agreements and are typically used for long-term projects such as roads, ports, and utilities. They enable the pooling of private financing and shared expertise, making them suitable for complex and capital-intensive developments. However, they introduce complex contractual layers and are subject to political and regulatory risks. In Malaysia, these arrangements are guided by global practice guides and are increasingly used for major infrastructure initiatives. Ancillary contract forms in Malaysia include subcontracts, supply contracts, and consultancy agreements. These are essential for defining relationships between the main contractor and trades, suppliers, or consultants. Often, these contracts are based on standard templates provided by JKR or PAM, ensuring consistency and legal compliance. Novation agreements are also commonly used in design and build contracts to transfer the employer's design team to the contractor, facilitating continuity and accountability. These ancillary forms play a critical role in project execution and risk management. Resources such as Veritas Design Group and Contirac.water.gov.my provide templates and guidance. Malaysia utilizes several standard forms of contract tailored to different sectors and project types. The PAM standard form of building contract, PAM 2006 to PAM 2018, is dominant in private sector building contracts. The PWD's JKR forms, e.g., Form 203-203A, are long-standing public sector forms used for government works, with options for measurement or lump sum pricing. The CIDB standard form of contract for building works, SFC, 2022 edition introduces modernized risk allocation and collaborative features, making it increasingly relevant for large local projects. FIDIC forms, red, yellow, silver books, are international standards used for complex engineering and infrastructure projects, especially by international employers and contractors operating in Malaysia. These forms provide structured frameworks for project delivery and dispute resolution. The Construction Industry Payment and Adjudication Act, CIPAA, 2012 provides a statutory adjudication mechanism for resolving payment disputes in Malaysia. It aims to preserve cash flow by offering fast, interim binding decisions and applies to eligible contracts regardless of contractual terms. Parties cannot contract out of CIPAA, making it a mandatory framework for dispute resolution. In addition to CIPAA, standard contract forms include clauses for engineer or SO determinations, adjudication, arbitration, and litigation. The CIDB SFC 2022 has updated compensation, early warning, and dispute clauses to reflect collaborative practices. Legal practice guides and resources from DLA Piper and AIAC offer further insights into dispute resolution under CIPAA. Selecting the appropriate contract form and procurement route requires careful consideration of project-specific factors. If the scope is well defined, a lump sum contract using PAM or JKR forms is suitable. For projects with uncertain quantities, measurement or remeasurement contracts are preferred. When speed and single-point responsibility are critical, design and build or EPC turnkey contracts should be considered, using PWDDB or bespoke forms. For complex civil or infrastructure works involving international contractors, FIDIC and bespoke EPC contracts are recommended. If cash flow and payment risks are a concern, it is essential to ensure CIPAA clauses and rights are preserved, and that the contract administration and payment timetable are clearly defined. In public sector procurement, JKR, PWD or CIDB SFC forms are likely mandatory or preferred. A quick comparison of contract types helps stakeholders understand key differences and make informed decisions. Lump sum contracts offer employer cost certainty but place risk on the contractor, suitable for defined scopes under PAM or JKR forms. Measurement unit price contracts involve payment for actual quantities and are ideal for civil works using PWD Form 203-203A. Cost plus T&M contracts provide flexibility but shift cost risk to the employer, commonly used for specialist packages and variations. Design and build and EPC, the turnkey contracts offer single-point responsibility, suitable for complex buildings and fast-track projects. The CIDB SFC 2022 is a modern standard for building works, featuring collaborative elements and updated dispute provisions. For further reading, authoritative sources include PAM Standard Form, pam.org.my, PWD Forms, contirac.water.gov.my, CIDB Guidance, CIDB, FIDIC Materials, FIDIC.org, and CIPAA Resources, DLA Piper, AIAC.
If you like our content, kindly like, share and subscribe.